Look for the Union label when you are buying one coat dress or blouse. Remember somewhere our union's going, our wages going to feed the kids and run the house. We work hard, but who's complaining? Thanks to the ILD we're paying our way.
Somebody, don't you wanna hear the story of my life? One of them movie companies, TV documentaries. Won't you come and ask me, please? And pay me $1 million. Tell me what I do at the store. Pay me $1 million. I wouldn't gotta go do it no more. 1, 2, 3, 4. Like the song said, all the live long. Everybody I know that song. in the morning, you wait at the shanty until 7 o'clock. At 7 o'clock, you start walking up the ladder, climbing up the steel. Every 2 floors, you plank it off. Then you disconnect from the bottom of the mast, then you tie it to the top of the choking cable. You get a heavy block on the job, probably weighs 200, 250 pounds, something like that. I started working structural steel when I was 18 years old. I worked on buildings probably 120, 130 feet high. Most guys are afraid of heights like that, so automatically, every iron worker has an ego. You're doing something that somebody else can't do. And you get to wear a tool belt. When you're a kid, 18 years old, and you've got wrenches in like a holster, you're like a cowboy or a soldier, a hero. Now, if I put a 2x4 on the floor, I couldn't knock you off with a stick. But you put it 50 feet up and a little gust of wind comes and you overreact, you fall off. That's why most iron workers start off as kids. When you're a kid 18 years old, just out of school, and the guy next to you walks across the beam, you're gonna walk across the beam too. Now, iron workers very, very rarely fall in the hole. Oh, that's what our term is. If somebody falls off a building, they fell in the hole. Now, you iron work long enough, you're gonna get some real scares. We talk a lot about it amongst ourselves. I noticed myself, I get this copper taste. You know that taste? If you put a penny in your mouth when you were a kid? It's a taste of fear, I guess. Now, as you get older, you reconcile yourself to the fact that it's easier to just drop down and coon across the beam. It's easier, but you lose all the hair on the inside of your legs. You can always tell an iron worker because they never have any hair on the inside of their legs. Another bad thing is that up here, we don't have outhouses or anything like that. So, we piss in the columns. Everybody's always drunk the night before, so we're always expelling ourselves down these columns. The only bad thing is that eventually you're gonna have to work down below. The worst thing in the world is you have to burn something down there. It's like cooking a toilet. But I always knew I was going to be an iron worker. My older brothers are iron workers. My father was an iron worker, so it was the natural course of events. My father was very disappointed that I didn't go to college. We had a college boy at work this summer. One time he saw a book in my back pocket and he was amazed. He says to me, "You read?" That's what can get to you. The non-recognition by some people. To say a man is just a laborer or a woman is just a housewife, it gets to you sometimes. Some days, some mornings, I look out across the skyline for a building that I worked on. Say that building, there. And I look down and I see a big fancy car pulled into the parking garage that I built. And I know some guy from the burbs is driving it, and I know he's never gonna think about me. But I think about him sometimes. Him driving his big fancy air-conditioned car into his air-conditioned office, just sitting back and enjoying the ride.
That parking lot attendant.
He does this every morning.
You know, it just doesn't take this long to park a car. I mean, it's like he drives it around up there and listens to the radio.
Not only that, once he finally decides to take it from you, you never know what the hell he's gonna do to it before he gives it back.
I've been parking cars for 32 years. In my younger days, I was the best. I could drive any car like a baby, like a woman changing her baby's diapers. I still get customers ask me, "Man, you sure can drive. How long you been doing it?" And I say, "Well, I started when I was 16, and I'm still doing it. All my day is cars. All my walking hours is cars. I drive my car to work, and when I get there, it's the customer's car. And then I drive my car home back at night. But when I go out, my wife drives. I'm known from Peking to Hong Kong, from the West Coast to the Pecos. Packing cars is my game. In an automobile, I used to be a hell on wheels, and that's what earned me my name. Ask anybody to tell you about loving out. You can ask anybody, and anybody will tell you. There was a time when nobody could beat me doing what I do. I punch out the tickets out of the wheel and right off the bat have it under control. Using one hand and spin her around without looking backward and straight in the hole. People ask me how I do it. I tell them that there ain't nothing to it, cause I'm loving Al, wizard, one sweet Al, that's me. Loving Al is a wizard, so don't be surprised at what you see. One swing in, one swing out, and look out. Oh, there he goes. Now when you're parking cars around here, you're looking for tips, so you get to know this house. Now the working man, he's the best tipper. He's been working all day, but he'll give you 2 greenbacks. But you get some people riding up in a big Cadillac, you know what he'll give you? 1 measly quarter. Then we've got our customers that tip once a week. We give them what we call soigné service. Of course, those who don't tip, we still gotta give them service. There ain't no soigné. Why can't I be a rich man with some big bucks in my jeans? I got me a brand new caddy and to go you a cigar, cause you can't smoke them Penitellers when you're riding in a rich man's car. I see you get out with the tuxedos on and when I and I can smell the cologne. It'll be up and I listen a while, sitting pretending life is my own. I may sit longer than I should. Well, that's cause it feels so good to loving Al, one swing Al, that's me. Loving Al is a wizard, so don't be surprised at what you see. One swing in, one swing out, look out. And it looked like I was sitting in the back. He said, "You better pull that seat up, cuz I'm almost 7 feet." I said, "Mister, I never move anybody's seat, cause I'm loving Al, the wizard, wheels at me a loving Al is a wizard. We get a parking like Grand Prix. I gotta skip, I see a tip. Loving Al, signing off. Oh!
My name is Amanda McKinney. I'm a project manager. I come to work at 7 a.m. and leave at 5 p.m. When I'm not in meetings, I'm emailing, answering messages, and trying to avoid my boss. One always has a boss. You have a boss, your boss has a boss. There's politics the entire time. And sometimes you have a good boss, which I've had, and sometimes you have a Satan boss, like the one I have right now. We sent out a notice that said the Brotherhood of Cubicle Cuties would like to have a Christmas party. And I got called down and he said, "You can't start a union here." And I looked at him like, you should be more concerned about the fact that we haven't sent out any work in the last 2 months.
I've been in all different types of cubicles. I've been in the high wall cubicles, I've been in the half height cubicles. At one place, they didn't even have cubicles, just desks. All of us at little desks with little phone lines, with little buttons that lit up whenever we were using them. I'm sitting there and I'm going, gee, my career's really taking off now.
I paper the walls of my cubicle with posters. I bring in flowers. I even brought in my favorite ceramic lamp. This little collection of things on top of my computer, we call them computer gods. I guess I have more decorations than I thought. But I like getting fun things because it's kind of, if you look at it without the decorations, it's kind of a drab-looking place. So things like glow-in-the-dark skeletons really go a long way.
I can see the person next to me through the reflection of the window. At night, I can see everything she's doing. She's usually emailing jokes to her sister. And I've also acquired a webcam, and I set it up so it points behind me. And a little window on my computer screen, so that if anyone walks behind me, I can see them.
If you didn't already know, the guy in the corner of my room talks very loudly on the phone, so I'm filled in on his personal life to a great extent. He's talking to this girl he loves, his mom's giving him hell, and things like that. So I finally told him, I can hear everything you're saying on the phone. Now I hear pss, 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 pss in the corner on the phone, and I know something sensitive is going on.
This industry is highly hit by mergers, which means significant layoffs. I've been through 2 of them. My mentality is quite different from those 20 years older, the lifers. I have no real sense of loyalty anymore because I know that they have a business to run and they will lay me off if it's prudent. I accept that. But for people 15 years senior that have thrown their lives away for a few measly dollars, you're tossing us aside, I'm like, get over it. It's a different world. There's no sense of loyalty anymore. I don't think that anyone my age really thinks they're hired here, they've got a job for life. What they feel is, all right, I'll make as much as I can from this company, and I'll move on and get money from the next. Jobs aren't big enough for people. When you ask a person who they are, they define themselves by their jobs. I'm a doctor, I'm a radio announcer, I'm a carpenter. When people ask me who I am, I say, I'm Amanda McKinney, and at certain points in time, I do things for a living.
I'm a fellow who likes to work. Some people enjoy tennis. I enjoy work. I enjoy being a leader. I enjoy being the guy that everyone looks to. I like the responsibility of having thousands of people working for me. In our world of money management is the sexiest job there is. If I'm called a freebooter, a pirate, a robber baron, I take it as a compliment. Abso-friggin-lutely. Who developed America? The regulators? The SEC? Or was it the Mellons? The Rockefellers? I mean, tell me, what did they do bad? Sure, Rockefeller shot down some workers in the copper fields. Some say he exploited them, absolutely. But who benefited? There's still Standard Oil, isn't there? Mellon's Bank is still around. Look, how many charities have been started by these people? How many national parks have been preserved by these robber barons? These were the giants who built our cities, who built our country. Unless you have losers, you cannot have winners.
Excuse me, Mr. Winship, you asked me to remind you that you have an overseas call coming in 5 minutes.
Look, I'm gonna have to cut this short. I want to get on the phones before the markets close overseas. Everybody works hard these days. Kids work harder today than they have ever before.
kid wants to make it, he's got to be willing to work long hours and then go to school on nights and learn about federal policy. See, you gotta know how to outsmart the regulators in order to make a profit. It's easy. Christ, if you can't even outsmart one little government staff, you shouldn't even get up to go to work in the morning.
Paper pickup.
I should be their teacher. I've always wanted to teach, but they don't want a businessman. They'd much rather have someone in the academic field who has a formalized and, well, I think, empty training. This is what I'd like to do when I get sick of all of this. Get involved with the young people, pass along my knowledge, my experience, my values.
I don't know what prompted me to be a newsboy. It's just kind of how you get started, you know? And it's a good experience so far in the business world. Gee, it's neat to be a newsboy. You ride your bike around the neighborhood. You get known at the stores and out of your chores, and it pays real good. If you're 11, gee, I think the world of finance and doing business like my daddy does. And I could grow up to be Horatio Alger, whoever he was. So I like my paper up quite a bit, but there's the one part that's my favorite. You put your hands around the paper, throw the paper in the bush, watch the bush go, boy. Watch the bush go, boy. Watch the bush go. So one had a drag because your mom's been nagging and your sister's been annoying. You throw the paper in the bushes, watch the bushes go, boy. Hey, it's boss to meet the public. You learn who pays you quick and who forgets. You learn new words to swear and things to beware, like having debts and German shepherds. Hey, it's funky making contacts. There's these are people in my half a mile, and I could grow up to be the president someday if I practice my smile. Oh, and anytime I want to call it quits, I just think about those benefits.
Put your hands around the paper, throw the paper in the bush, watch the bush go.
Boy,
Watch the bush go.
boy,
Watch the bush go.
oh, so long time, no reason to work and enjoy it. Throw the paper in the bushes. Watch the bushes go.
Good morning, Hernando. How are you? Good morning, Linda. I've missed you. In your heart, you may have a dislike for a certain child, but you force yourself to say, "Good morning, Manuel. How you doing?" My name is Rose Hoffman, and I teach 3rd grade. At 9:15, we start with arithmetic. I have tables spun on the board, multiplication. You don't say tables, you say tables spun. Everything has to be fun, fun, fun. Then we have a penmanship lesson. There it is in my beautiful handwriting. I have a Palmer Method diploma. I tell my students, Mrs. Hoffman's here, everybody works. Working is a blessing. But I don't give them assignments over their heads. I don't tell them the reason for things. I give them the rote method. This is very boring, very monotonous, but habit is a great thing for these children. They adore it. Habit, they love habit. I like to be sure my room is clean, the desk's well organized. I like uniformity. I love straight lines. 22. Right now I have 32 in my class. There's about 23 Spanish. I have maybe 2 Appalachians. Oh, those poor Appalachians. They never get the special attention these other children get. Their names are in Spanish. My heart breaks for them. Back in the old day, you had 18 to 20 children who stayed in your classroom from the beginning bell to the very end. Today, the child comes in and leaves for a computer lab, art therapy, teaching English as a second language. I'm shocked that English is a second language. When my parents came over, I didn't learn Jewish as a first language at the taxpayer's expense. The Polish didn't learn Polish as a first language. Oh yes, I've seen great changes since I began teaching in 1975. January 6th, 1975. My students back then were Polish primarily. I liked the Polish people. They were hard workers. We had 2 colored families, but they were sweet. Of course, back then we had the paddle. That was effective. I believe in corporal punishment. It builds respect and trust. My classroom was always a showcase. In those days we did it ourselves. With colorful pictures and charts on the wall. A snowman in winter, a pumpkin in fall. And all my supplies were in neat little piles on the shelves. My children were always respectful. When the principal came, they would rise. If I had to leave for a minute or 2, they always found something constructive to do. And all of them sat in their places according to size. But kids don't know how to behave anymore. Ask them to rise and they'll ask you what for. They confiscate weapons and drugs at the door. No spitballs and comic books now. They want me to teach in a classroom like that, but nobody tells me how. I made a big thing about spelling, but they learned by the time I got through. They copied the words till they knew them by heart. 10 times for the dumb ones, and twice for the smart. And gold stars were given to those who made sentences too. But why bother teaching them spelling today? Nobody knows how to read, by the way. How can you spell what you can't even say? It's se habla español now. The way I've been teaching for 40-some years is no longer effective, or so it appears. Well, damn it! It worked for me then, so what's wrong with it now? They say I'm supposed to keep up with the times, but nobody ever tells me how. There is one student who stands out in my mind in all my years of teaching, Pam. She was special. She wasn't very bright, but she was never any trouble either. I see her every once in a while. She's a checker at the Treasure Island supermarket. She gives no trouble today either. She has the same smile for everyone.
There isn't a thing you don't want that isn't in this store. From soda pop to a genuine pearl and a can of oysters. And I know the code for every single one. On the register there's a booklet with all the codes in it, but that's for the part-time girls. I never look at it. You got your green, grade 40, 22, and your red is 40, 23. You got your red, 6, 17, I'll shut it equal 12. I tell you, it just comes to me. I got my right hand ready on the register. Use my left to send the grocery. And when I feel you, it's to the
How about the break?
A break? Pancho, you got a break the day you were hired.
You knew? What's your name?
Roberto.
Robert.
I'm Pam, but everybody calls me Babe.
Would you hurry up and bag that? I have to be somewhere in 10 minutes.
You wait your time and you'll get my full undivided attention. You rush and you're gonna get nothing.
You walk through the door, and the music starts playing. And everything looks pretty, and everything looks fresh and nice. But you're not aware that in the back room, it stinks. And there's crates all over and people yelling at each other. And they play music over the loudspeakers, so you relax while you shop. They play Guantanamera. It's the Cuban Revolution song. But when people go shopping, they don't pay attention to the music. When they go shopping, they hit their kids and blame us for the high prices.
Whoa, whoa, whoa! Put the lettuce on top. They should teach you people about produce.
Sorry, ma'am.
No, it's okay. It's just lettuce costs so much these days.
I need a break.
I used to pick lettuce. According to my mom, I was born on a cotton sack out in the field. She had no money to go to the hospital. We used to migrate from Arizona to California and back and forth again. The things I saw, they shaped my life. I think I started picking crops when I was 8. Now, I couldn't do much, but every little bit counts. Every time I'd get behind in my chores, I would get a carrot thrown at me by my parents. But I would daydream, and I would picture my mom living in the same place all the time, and being admired by all of the people in the community. And then all of a sudden, I'd be rudely awakened by a broken carrot on my back. Un mejor día vendrá, un mejor día vendrá, cuando Dios a los pobres un lugar dará. Cuando madura la tarde, vuelvo cansado a mi hogar. Y soñando en un futuro, olvido dolor y pesar. ¿Dónde se ha ido mi vida? ¿Dónde se ha ido mi juventud? Perdidas en las palabras que el viento me trae, un día mejor vendrá. After my dad died, my mom would go into her tent and I'd go into the one for the kids and we'd roughhouse and everything, and then I'd go into my mom's tent and I'd see her crying. When I asked her why she was crying, she never gave me an answer. All she said was things would get better, but that day she thought would be better, it never came for her. If people could see, in the winter, ice on the fields, in the summer, picking watermelons in 105 degrees, when people see lettuce or carrots or melons or cucumbers, they don't know how they got on their table. If I had enough money, I would bring busloads of people out into the fields and into the labor camps. Then they would know how that salad got on their table. Cuando Dios a los pobres un lugar dará.
UPS! You could have said something earlier instead of just jumping up behind me and screaming UPS.
Sorry, ma'am.
It's all right.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. You have to make excitement for yourself, you know? Where is it? Where is it? I've been bit once already by a Doberman. That's the biggest part of a dog's day, when the UPS van comes. At this one house, I was trying to make friends with a dog. It was a Schnauzer, or some little damn thing. It started to walk away because it was barking its little fool head off. It fell over on its side. I thought it had a heart attack. The lady says he usually relapses from barking too much. I just hit him in the head with my clipboard. And then they say, oh, why did you know the dog wasn't gonna hurt you? And I say, oi, it's jumping on me. It's scratching me. So, when nobody's looking, you kick him down the street. Even if he just follows you, you get him for the one you missed a couple of houses back. Yep, that's the big conversation with us, dogs, and woman. If you have a nice looking babe that kind of brightens your day. See, we have a code we put on the sheet. We put a Q. That stands for cutie. See, if you have a nice little honey laying out there in a backyard in a two-piece bathing suit, ka-ching! She'll be lying there on her stomach with her top strap undone. If you get there and you scare her good enough, she'll jump up. To scare them when they jump up and to get a better look at them. See, this takes time and it gives you something to do. It adds excitement to the day. UPS!
Oh, I don't work. Well, I mean, yes, I work. But I don't have a job. What I do only matters to 3 people. All I am is just a housewife, nothing special, nothing great. What I do is kind of boring. If you'd rather, it can wait. All I am is someone's mother. All I am is someone's wife. All of which seems unimportant. All it is just my life. Do the laundry, wash the dishes, take the dog out, clean the house, shop for groceries, look for specials. God, it sounds so Mickey Mouse. Drop the kids off, pick the shirts up, try to lose weight, try again. Drop the kids off, pick their shirts up, lose your patience, count to 10, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. All I am is just a housewife, nothing great. What I do is out of fashion, what I feel is out of date. All I am is someone's mother, right away I'm not too bright. What I do is unfulfilling, so the TV talk shows tell me every night. I don't mean to complain and all, but they make you feel like you're 2 feet tall when you're just a wife. All they see are the pots and pans and the Pepsi cans of a person's life. You're a whiz if you go to work, but you're just a jerk if you say you won't. People say that they think it's fine if the choice is mine, but you know they don't. What I choose to do may be dumb to you, but it's not to me. Is it dumb that they need me there? Is it dumb to care? 'Cause I do, you see. And I mean, did you ever really stop and think what a job it was? Doing all the things that a housewife I'm afraid it's unimpressive. All I am is someone's mother, nothing special. What I do is unexciting. Take the kids here, take the kids there. I don't need to complain and know. All I am is busy every day, like my mother. All I am is just a housewife.
I did it.
want to become a housewife like my mother and sisters, I think I've always known that I wanted more out of life. I was 15. I was sitting in a coffee shop when a friend came by and said, "Hurry up, I got a cab waiting. You can make $100 in 20 minutes. So we went up to a penthouse, and the guy up there was quite well known. And, well, all I can say is, in 20 minutes, I would walk out with $100 in my pocket. Just out of curiosity, how many of you can make $100 in 20 minutes? And I was still in high school.
I think of myself as an upper-class working girl. The press calls me a socialite, which is just another name for a well-dressed fundraiser. I began in the 80s. I gave a party in Washington for Nicaraguan refugee children. It wasn't the Contras, although I'm sure that would have been fun too. But fundraising is work. It's hard to separate people from their money.
It's a marketplace transaction. And somehow I managed to absorb this when I was quite young. I was a precocious child. Actually, I was kind of lonely. I never really experienced myself as being attractive. I didn't look like a Calvin Klein ad. But I was bright, and I never played by the rules. Guys were mostly scared of me. They never wanted to get involved emotionally.
One day I was driving around New York in a limousine during a hotel strike, and there was nowhere to go. And I thought, now I know what it feels like to be a bag lady. You can't pick up every homeless person and bring them home with you. But if you can help by saying something entertaining, you bring a light into their eyes. Maybe that's what it means to be a social light.
You become your job. I've become a hustler. Even when I'm not hustling, I'm a hustler. What you do is what you are. And I don't think it's terribly different from someone who works on an assembly line 40 hours a week. Coming home, cut off, numb. People weren't built to switch off and on like water faucets.
I work in a luggage factory. We make suitcases. The tank I work at is 6 foot deep, 8 foot square. In 40 seconds, you have to take the wet felt out of the felter. Put the blanket on to draw out the excess moisture. Wait 2, 3 seconds, take the blanket off. Pick up the wet felt and bounce it on your shoulder. Reach over, get the hose, spray the inside of this copper screen. Turn around, walk to the hot dry dye behind you. Take the hot piece off and set it on the floor. Put the wet piece on the dry dye, push this button. Second piece you just took off, stack it, count it, 40 seconds. In the summertime, the temperature at our workstation ranges anywhere from 100 to 150 degrees. I've taken a thermometer and checked it out. I have arthritis in the joints of my fingers and naturally in my shoulder from balancing this wet piece. The hose will sometimes leak and spray back on you, and also the hydraulic presses leak, so you're slipping on oil. You have the possibility of being burnt every time the dry dye hits its wet felt. You're just engulfed in a cloud of steam every 40 seconds. The tank runs 24 hours a day. I work 8 straight hours with 2 10-minute breaks and 1 20-minute break for lunch. I find it difficult to eat my lunch in that period of time. My friend tell you what's a sailor, he blew in off the water. My father was a farmer, and I his only daughter. I took up with an old good mill working man. died from too much whiskey and leaves me these three faces to feed. No work ain't easy, no work ain't hard. No work most often is a goddamn boring, awful job now. I'm waiting for a daydream to take me through the morning and put me in my coffee break so I can have my sandwich and remember that it's me and my machine for the rest of the morning, for the rest of the afternoon, and the rest of my life. They can't keep men on the tank. They say it's too monotonous. I just think women adjust to monotony better than men do because their minds are used to doing two things at once, where a man can only think of one thing at a time. A woman can listen to a child while she's doing something else. It's the same way on the tank. You can be automatic in what you're doing while you're doing something else. My mind begins to wander to my days back on the farm, and I can see my father smiling at me, swinging on his arm, and I can hear my granddad stories of the storms out on Lake Erie, vessels and cargoes, and fortunes and sailors' lives were lost. It's my life has been wasted, and I have been a fool to let this manufacturer use my body for a tool. I get to ride home in the evening, staring at my hands, swearing by my sorrow that a young girl ought to stand a better chance. And may I work this mill just as long as I am able, and never meet the man whose name is on the label. It's me and my machine for the rest of the morning, for the rest of the afternoon gone, and the rest of my but when that's all you know how to do, that's what you do. If I could have been what I could have been, I could have been something.
I wanted to be a writer.
Major League Baseball
If
player.
what I
Little
could
farm.
be had been left to me, I would have been something.
I got married.
Then the kids came along.
Tower of strength, a center of power, at $10 an hour.
There's always a stumbling block. I was gonna work for a few years, buy me a car, head south. Then I met the wife. Kind of changed my plans. You never know what you could have been.
If I could have done what I could have done, I could have done big things.